Part 2. The Ark Runner Hana woke to the soft hum of engines and the smell of something cooking. For a moment she panicked, not remembering where she was. Then the memories flooded back. The ice planet, the cold, the humans who had saved them. She sat up slowly, her muscles still aching but responding properly now. The medical bay was clean and bright with equipment mounted on every wall. Through a transparent section of the ceiling, she could see stars moving slowly past. They were traveling through space. Mama! Duri came running across the medical bay, her small feet pattering on the metal floor. The child crashed into Hana's arms, and for a long moment they just held each other. Hana checked Duri over with trembling hands. The child's scales had returned to their healthy green color. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed with bright energy. She was healthy. She was alive. "You gave us quite a scare," Dr. Yuna said, approaching with a warm smile. "But you're both recovering well. Your species' healing factor is impressive once you're at the right temperature." "How long was I asleep?" Hana asked. "About 16 hours. Your body needed the rest." Yuna checked a display screen mounted near the bed. "Your core temperature is back to normal, and your organ functions have stabilized. You'll be weak for a few more days, but the worst is behind you." Duri climbed onto the bed and snuggled against Hana's side. "The humans gave me food, Mama, and toys. And they showed me pictures of Earth." Hana stroked her daughter's head. "Did you thank them?" "Yes, many times." Duri's eyes shone with excitement. "Captain Marcus let me sit in the pilot's chair. Well, the pretend one in the rec room. He said the real one is too dangerous." Despite everything, Hana smiled. It had been so long since she'd seen Duri this happy and full of energy. The medical bay door opened and Captain Marcus entered carrying a tray. "Heard you were awake. Thought you might be hungry." He set the tray on a small table next to the bed. Hana stared at the food. There were several dishes, each labeled with Velthian script. Protein paste, nutrient gel, and what looked like synthesized fish, all carefully prepared to match Velthian dietary needs. "How did you know what to prepare?" Hana asked. "We've got a pretty good database on most species' nutritional requirements. Had to adapt our synthesizer a bit, but it should be close to what you need." Marcus looked almost embarrassed. "Might not taste exactly like home cooking, but it'll keep you healthy." Hana took a small bite of the synthesized fish. It wasn't perfect, but it was edible and properly prepared. The fact that these humans had gone to this much trouble for her and Duri made her throat tight with emotion again. "Eat up," Yuna said gently. "You need your strength." Over the next few hours, Hana learned more about the Ark Runner and its crew. The ship was an old cargo vessel that had been converted for search and rescue operations. Captain Marcus had bought it with his military retirement pay and assembled a crew of volunteers. They spent their time traveling to abandoned systems and disaster zones, looking for survivors that everyone else had given up on. "But why?" Hana asked Marcus when he came to check on her later. "Why spend your resources on strangers? There's no profit in rescue work." Marcus leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. "My grandfather told me a story once. During one of Earth's wars, his unit got trapped behind enemy lines. They were sure they'd die there. Then another unit fought their way through hell to reach them. Lost good people doing it. When my grandfather asked why they'd risked so much, the commander said something simple. Because you needed help and we could give it." He looked at Hana directly. That stuck with me. When humans finally got out into space and saw how the galaxy worked, saw how most species just ignored distress calls from places without value, it didn't sit right with us. So some of us decided to do something about it. "How many ships like yours are there?" "About 40 in the network, last I heard. Small operation, but we save lives. That's what matters." Hana shook her head in wonder. "I've traveled to many worlds, met many species. I've never heard of anyone doing this except humans." "Yeah, well." Marcus looked uncomfortable with the praise. "We're stubborn like that." The days passed and Hana grew stronger. She was given quarters near the medical bay, a small room with 2 beds and a viewport. It was simple but clean and warm. Duri loved it, especially the viewport where she could watch the stars. The crew treated them with kindness that Hana still struggled to understand. Lieutenant James Cross, the first officer, taught Duri how to play a human game called checkers. Engineer Bora Kim showed Hana the engine room and explained how the ship's systems worked. The pilot, who everyone called Crash for reasons they wouldn't explain, made Duri laugh with silly faces and magic tricks. But Hana couldn't shake the feeling of being a burden. These humans had saved her life and Dury's life, and she had nothing to offer in return. One morning she found Captain Marcus in the ship's small common area, reviewing navigation charts. "I want to work," Hana said firmly. Marcus looked up, surprised. "You're still recovering. You need rest. I've rested enough. I can't just sit in my quarters while your crew does everything. I need to help, please." Marcus studied her for a long moment. "You sure you're up for it?" "Yes, all right. Talk to Bora in engineering. She mentioned your species can see heat signatures. Might be useful for checking system stress points." Hana felt a weight lift from her shoulders.
Thank you. Working in engineering turned out to be exactly what Hana needed.
Bora was patient and funny, explaining things carefully and never making Hana feel stupid for not understanding human technology. Hana's ability to see infrared light made her valuable for spotting overheating components before they failed. "You're a natural at this," Bora said one day as they repaired a coolant line. "Ever think about becoming an engineer?" "I worked in hydroponics on the colony," Hana said. "Growing food, maintaining life support for the plant systems. This is different but similar in some ways. Everything needs to flow correctly." "Exactly. That's the heart of engineering right there." During breaks, the crew members would talk about their lives. Hana learned that most of them had lost someone, had experienced moments when they needed help desperately. Lieutenant James had survived a station disaster as a child, rescued by strangers who had no obligation to save him. Yuna had lost her parents in a medical emergency and had been taken in by neighbors who weren't even related to her. "Humans help each other," Yuna explained. "It's part of our culture. We extend that to other species because, well, why wouldn't we? We're all just trying to survive in this big, cold universe." One evening, Hana stood in the common area with Dury, watching the crew eat dinner together. They laughed and joked, shared stories and food. They had welcomed her and Dury into their family without hesitation. "Do all humans live like this?" Hana asked Yuna. "Like what?" "Together. Helping each other. Caring about strangers." Yuna thought about it. "Not all of us know. Humans can be just as selfish as anyone else. But most of us try to be decent. We figure the universe is hard enough without us making it worse for each other." That night, as Hana tucked Dury into bed, her daughter asked a question. "Mama, are we going to stay with the humans?" "I don't know, little spark. They're taking us to a safe station where we can find other Velthians. But I like it here. The humans are nice," Hana stroked her daughter's head. "They are. Very nice. Can we be like them? Can we help people too?" The question surprised Hana. Before she could answer, Dury was already asleep, tired from another day of playing and learning. Hana sat by the viewport watching the stars, thinking about her daughter's words. The humans had shown them more than just rescue. They had shown them a different way of living, a different way of thinking about the galaxy and their place in it. Hana realized she didn't want to just survive anymore. She wanted to matter. She wanted to help others the way these humans had helped her. But first they had to reach the safe station. They had to find a new life. The alarm shattered the peaceful night with its harsh screaming. Hana jumped from her bed, her heart racing. The lights in the corridor flashed red. Through the walls she could hear running footsteps and shouting voices. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. Part 3. The debt of kindness. Hana grabbed Dury and held her close as the alarm continued its terrible noise. The door to their quarters opened and Lieutenant James appeared, his face serious but calm. "Get to the common area," he said quickly. "Bring only what you need. Move fast but don't panic. What's happening?" Hana asked, her voice shaking. "Pirates. They've found us." The word sent ice through Hana's veins. Pirates. Like the ones who destroyed her colony. Like the ones who left her and Dury to freeze to death. She grabbed a small bag with their few possessions and followed James through the corridors. Other crew members rushed past, heading to their stations. Everyone moved with purpose, no chaos, no screaming. These humans had trained for this. In the common area, Yuna was already there with a medical kit. "Sit here," she told Hana gently. "You're safe. We've dealt with pirates before." "How many times?" Hana asked. 3 times in the past year." "We're still here, aren't we?" The view screen on the wall flickered to life, showing Captain Marcus on the bridge. His face was set in hard lines. "Listen up, everyone. We've got 3 pirate vessels on intercept course. They're demanding we surrender our cargo and passengers." Hana's blood went cold. They wanted her and Dury. The pirates must have been tracking the colony. looking for any survivors who might have valuable information or could be sold as slaves. We're not surrendering anyone, Marcus continued. I'm taking us into the Kelvar asteroid field. It's going to be rough, but we can lose them in there. Hold on to something and trust the ship. The screen went dark. Moments later, the entire ship jerked hard to the left. Hannah grabbed onto a support beam, pulling Dury tight against her. Through the small viewport in the common area, she could see asteroids beginning to appear, dark shapes against the stars. The Ark Runner dove between two massive rocks, so close that Hannah could see the details of their cratered surfaces. The ship twisted and turned, following a path that seemed impossible. Collision alarms beeped constantly, but somehow Marcus kept them safe, threading the needle between death and survival. He's insane, Hannah whispered. He's brilliant, Una corrected. Marcus can fly anything anywhere. That's why he's still alive. The ship dropped suddenly, falling beneath a spinning asteroid the size of a small moon. Hannah's stomach lurched. Dury buried her face in her mother's chest, whimpering softly. It's okay, little spark, Hannah murmured. The humans will protect us. But even as she said it, she wondered if protection was enough. The pirates had bigger ships, more weapons. What could one small rescue vessel do against 3 warships? The violent maneuvering continued for what felt like hours. Hannah's body was bruised from being thrown against walls despite holding onto supports. But slowly, the movements became less extreme. The alarms quieted. Marcus's voice came over the intercom. We've lost 2 of them. They tried to follow us and hit asteroids. The 3rd one is still tracking us, but they're being more careful now. Can we outrun them? Someone asked. Not in open space. Our engines are good, but not that good. We need a different plan. Hannah stood up, her mind racing. She knew something about these pirates. She had lived in their ship for 3 days, hiding in the ventilation system, listening to their conversations. She knew their tactics, their ship layouts, their weaknesses. I can help, she said loudly. Everyone turned to look at her. Una frowned. Hannah, you should rest. Let the crew handle this. No, I know these pirates. I know their ships. Hannah walked to the intercom panel and pressed the button. Captain Marcus, this is Hannah. I need to talk to you. There was a pause. Then Marcus responded. I'm listening. The pirates who destroyed my colony, they work for the Razor Claw Syndicate. They use converted mining ships with heavy armor but weak engines. Their ships have blind spots in the sensor arrays because they remove safety equipment to add weapons. How do you know this? I hid in their ship for 3 days before they dumped me on the ice planet. I saw everything. I heard their plans. I know how they think. Another pause. Get up to the bridge. Bora, escort her. Bora appeared moments later and led Hannah through the ship. Dury stayed with Una, playing with the medical equipment under the doctor's watchful eye. The bridge was small and cramped, every surface covered with controls and displays. Marcus sat in the captain's chair, his hands dancing across multiple screens. The pilot, Crash, was at the helm, his face tight with concentration. Lieutenant James monitored weapons and shields. Talk to me, Marcus said without looking away from his screens. Hannah moved to stand beside him, looking at the tactical display. The pirate ship appeared as a red triangle, slowly gaining on them through the asteroid field. Their sensors can't see directly behind them or in a narrow cone above the ship. If you can get above and behind them, they won't detect you until it's too late. What good does that do us? We're not a warship. We can't fight them head-on. You don't have to. Their engine cooling system vents from the top rear section. If you disable that, their engines will overheat and shut down automatically. They'll be dead in space. Marcus looked at her sharply. That's very specific knowledge. I told you. I listened to everything when I was hiding in their ship. The crew complained about the cooling system constantly. It was always breaking down. James brought up a detailed scan of the pirate vessel. She's right. There's a thermal vent exactly where she described. If we can hit it with a precision shot, we might be able to disable them. Might? Marcus said. Their armor is thick. We'd need to be close. Very close. Marcus leaned back in his chair, thinking. Hannah could see the calculations running behind his eyes. He was weighing risks, considering options, trying to find a path where everyone survived. All right, he said finally. We'll try it. Crash, take us deeper into the field. Make them work to follow us. When we get to Sector 7, there's a large iron asteroid with a cave system. We'll hide there and let them pass. Then we circle around and come at them from above, James said, nodding. Exactly. Hannah, stay here. We might need more of your knowledge. The plan went into motion. Crash guided the Ark Runner through increasingly dangerous asteroid clusters, moving so fast that Hana's heart stayed in her throat. The pirate ship followed, but they were slower, more cautious. Finally, they reached the iron asteroid. Crash dove into one of the cave tunnels, killing the engines and all non-essential power. The ship went dark and silent. Through the cave opening, Hana watched the pirate ship drift past, searching for them. The red glow of their engines reflected off the asteroids. "They're moving away," James whispered. "Give them time," Marcus said. "Let them get confident." They waited in the darkness. Minutes stretched like hours. Hana realized she was holding her breath. "Now," Marcus said. Crash restarted the engines, bringing the Ark Runner back to life. They emerged from the cave and climbed rapidly, using the asteroids for cover. The pirate ship was below them now, still searching the area where they'd lost the Ark Runner's signal. "Coming up on their 6 high, Crash reported. "We're in the blind spot. Weapons locked on the cooling vent," James said. "Distance?" Marcus asked. 200 meters and closing." "That's too far. We need to be closer." "Captain, if we get any closer, they'll detect our hull mass even without sensors." 150 meters. "That's the shot." Crash brought them in, slow and steady. Hana watched the distance counter drop. 200 meters. 180. 160. The pirate ship suddenly began to turn. "They've detected something," James said. "They're bringing weapons around." "Now, James." "Fire now." The Ark Runner's small plasma cannon fired a single shot. It was a tiny weapon meant for clearing debris, not combat. But it was aimed perfectly. The bolt of superheated plasma struck the cooling vent dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pirate ship's engines began to glow brighter and brighter. Emergency vents opened along its hull, releasing clouds of coolant gas. The engines flickered and died. "Direct hit," James shouted. "Their power systems are shutting down." "Get us out of here before they restore backups," Marcus ordered. The Ark Runner dove back into the asteroid field, moving fast. Behind them, the pirate ship drifted helplessly, all systems dark. They had won. The bridge erupted in cheers. Crash punched the air in victory. James laughed with relief. Even Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Hana felt her knees go weak. She grabbed the back of Marcus's chair to steady herself. "You did good," Marcus said, looking up at her. "That knowledge saved us." "You saved me first," Hana replied. "I'm just repaying the debt." "There's no debt. We help because it's right, not because we expect payment." "I know, but I help for the same reason now. You taught me that." Marcus stood and put a hand on her shoulder. "Then welcome to the crew, Hana, officially." Hana felt tears in her eyes again, but this time they were happy tears. She had found more than rescue. She had found purpose. She had found a family that chose to stand against the darkness. As they left the asteroid field behind, heading toward safety, Hana thought about all the other people out there who needed help, all the desperate signals going unanswered, all the lives that could be saved. She understood now what drove these humans, and she wanted to be part of it. Whatever came next, she would face it with them. Part 4, The Hunter's Return. 3 days of peace followed the asteroid field escape. Hana worked alongside Bora in engineering, learning more about the ship's systems each day. Dory had become the unofficial mascot of the crew, bringing smiles wherever she went. Life aboard the Ark Runner felt almost normal, then everything changed again. Hana was in the engine room checking coolant levels when the proximity alarm started screaming. She dropped her tools and ran toward the bridge, her heart pounding. This sound was different from last time. More urgent, more dangerous. The bridge was chaos when she arrived. Every screen showed tactical displays, and all of them were lit up with red warning indicators. "How many?" Marcus was asking. 7 ships, James replied, his voice tight. "No, wait, 9. They're coming from multiple vectors." "9? Crash's face had gone pale. "That's not a hunting party. That's a fleet," Marcus's jaw clenched. "The Syndicate. They're not trying to capture us anymore. They want revenge." Hana moved closer to look at the displays. Her blood went cold. She recognized some of the ship signatures. These were Syndicate warships, real military vessels, not just converted mining ships. They surrounded the Ark Runner in a loose formation, cutting off every escape route. "Can we run?" Bora asked from behind Hana. "Where?" Marcus gestured at the tactical display. "They've boxed us in. We try to run, they'll shoot us to pieces before we can jump to faster than light speed." A communication signal came through. Marcus hesitated, then accepted it. A face appeared on the main screen and Hana gasped. She knew that face. Kevik. the pirate captain who had led the raid on her colony. Kavik was a Threxian, a species known for their aggression and love of violence. His scales were dark red and his eyes glowed with yellow hatred. When he smiled, his teeth were sharp and cruel. "Arc Runner," Kavik said, his voice like grinding metal. "You've caused me considerable trouble. One of my ships disabled, 2 more destroyed in those asteroids. My superiors are very displeased." "Good," Marcus said flatly. "Maybe they'll fire you." Kavik's smile widened. "Such bravery. Such stupidity. I'm going to enjoy watching you die, human. But first you will surrender the Velthian female and her spawn. They belong to me." "Nobody belongs to you," Marcus said. "Incorrect. She witnessed my operations. She hid aboard my ship. She stole information from me. That is theft, and theft requires punishment." Hana felt sick. This was her fault. If she had died on the ice planet, the crew of the Arc Runner would be safe. Instead, she had brought this death sentence upon them. "You have 1 hour to surrender," Kavik continued. "If you do not comply, I will destroy your ship and everyone aboard. There will be no survivors, no escape, no mercy." The communication cut off. Silence filled the bridge. Everyone looked at Marcus, waiting for orders, waiting for the miracle that would save them. But Hana could see it in his eyes. There was no miracle this time. "They were outgunned, outnumbered, and trapped, Captain," Hana said quietly. "Give me to them." "No," Marcus said immediately. "They'll kill everyone. The entire crew, Duri, all because of me. I can't let that happen. Hana, they'll kill you the moment they have you, and then they'll kill us anyway." "Pirates don't leave witnesses. Then what do we do?" Bora asked. "We can't fight 9 warships." Marcus stood up and walked to the viewport, staring out at the stars and the distant shapes of the Syndicate fleet. Hana watched him think, watched him search for options that didn't exist. "The nearest inhabited system is 4 hours away at full speed," James said. "We can't call for help in time. And even if we could, nobody would come. Not against the Syndicate. What about that defense station we passed 2 days ago?" Crash suggested. "Abandoned. We checked, remember?" Empty for 5 years, Marcus turned around, and Hana saw something in his face that scared her. Determination. The kind of determination that came before desperate actions. "We're not giving them, Hana," he said firmly. "We're not surrendering. And we're not dying today." "Then what's the plan?" James asked. "We make them think we're beaten. We'll broadcast a fake surrender. Say we're preparing to hand over the prisoner. That'll buy us time. Time for what? To run. Not away. Toward." Everyone stared at him. "That abandoned defense station," Marcus continued. "It's got automated weapon platforms. They're offline, but the hardware is still there. If we can reach it and get even a few of those platforms operational, we'd have something to fight with." "That's a huge if," James said. "And we'd have to get past the Syndicate fleet to reach it. They're spread out in a containment formation. If we move fast enough, we might slip through the gaps before they can close the net. And if we don't make it," Marcus's expression was grim, "then we go down fighting instead of on our knees." Bora stepped forward. "I can get some of those weapons online. Give me 30 minutes with the station systems and I'll have something working." "I'll help," Hana said. "I know station systems. I worked on one for years." "You're not going anywhere near that station," Marcus said. "You're staying on the ship where it's safe." "Safe?" Hana laughed bitterly. "There's no safe anymore. Let me help, please. I need to do something." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, but you follow Bora's orders exactly. Understood?" "Understood." The plan went into motion. Marcus sent a message to Kavik, claiming they needed time to prepare Hana for transfer and to secure the rest of the crew. It was a thin excuse, but it bought them 40 minutes. The Arc Runner began moving slowly, pretending to prepare for surrender. But Crash was calculating vectors, finding the exact moment when their position would be closest to a gap in the Syndicate formation. Yuna brought Duri to the bridge. The child looked scared, sensing the tension. Hana knelt down and held her daughter close. "Listen to me, little spark. We're going to play a game. A scary game, but just a game. When the lights flash, you hold on to Dr. Yuna very tight. Can you do that?" Duri nodded, her eyes wide. "That's my brave girl. I love you so much." "I love you too, Mama." Hana kissed her daughter's forehead, then stood up. She couldn't think about the possibility of never seeing Duri again. She had to focus on making sure everyone survived. 30 seconds, Crash announced. "Everyone hold on to something." Marcus sat in the captain's chair, his hands on the controls. When I give the word, Crash, you gun those engines like your life depends on it. Because it does. Understood, Captain. 20 seconds. The Syndicate ships maintained their positions, confident in their trap. 10 seconds. Hana gripped a support rail, her heart hammering. 5 seconds. She saw Marcus's hand hover over the control panel. Now, Marcus shouted. The Ark Runner exploded forward with acceleration that threw everyone against the walls. Hana held on desperately as the ship screamed through space. Through the viewport, she saw the Syndicate ships react, trying to close the gap, but they were too slow. Plasma fire lit up the darkness as the pirates opened fire. The Ark Runner twisted and spun, Crash's hands moving impossibly fast on the controls. Explosions bloomed around them so close that Hana could feel the ship shake. Hull breach on deck 3. James called out, sealing bulkheads. Keep going, Marcus ordered. They shot through the gap in the formation, plasma bolts chasing them like angry fireflies. One hit their rear shields and the ship lurched violently. Hana heard Duri scream, heard Yuna's voice comforting the child, but they were through. They were past the Syndicate fleet and racing toward the abandoned station. They're pursuing, James said. All 9 ships. And they're angry. How long until we reach the station? Marcus asked. 4 minutes at this speed. Will we make it before they get in weapons range? James checked his displays. It's going to be close. Very close. Hana looked at the pursuing ships on the tactical display. They were coming fast and their weapons had longer range than the Ark Runner's shields could withstand for long. Bora, Marcus said. I hope you're as good as you claim. Me too, Captain. Me too. The defense station grew larger on the view screens. It was a huge structure, shaped like a wheel with weapon platforms jutting out from every angle. But it was dark and dead, floating in space like a ghost. 30 seconds, Crash warned. The first Syndicate ship got into range and fired. The shot hit their rear shields and alarms screamed. The shield strength dropped to 70%. Shields holding, James reported. But not for long. Get us to that station, Marcus commanded. The Ark Runner dove toward the massive structure, flying so close to its surface that Hana could see the details of the hull plating. More shots hit them from behind. 50% shields, 30%. They reached a docking port and Crash slammed them into place with no finesse, just speed. The ship shook with the impact. Go! Marcus shouted at Bora and Hana. Get those weapons online. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Hana ran from the bridge, following Bora through the corridors. They had minutes at most, maybe less. The Syndicate was here and the real battle was about to begin. Part 5. The fury of the desperate Hana and Bora raced through the airlock connecting the Ark Runner to the defense station. The moment they entered the abandoned structure, Hana felt the cold. Not the killing cold of the ice planet, but the empty cold of a place that had been dead for years. Emergency lights flickered weakly, powered by backup systems that were barely functioning. The air smelled stale and metallic. Their boots echoed on metal floors as they ran toward the command center. How do you know where you're going? Hana gasped, struggling to keep up. I studied the station schematics during the flight, Bora said. Standard military layout. Command center should be 3 levels up and forward. They found a lift, but it was dead. Instead, they climbed through maintenance shafts, pulling themselves up ladder after ladder. Hana's arms burned with the effort. Behind them, through the station's hull, they could hear the distant sounds of weapons fire. The battle had started. Finally, they reached the command center. The door was sealed, but Bora pulled out a cutting torch and began working on the lock mechanism. Sparks flew in the darkness. Come on, Bora muttered. The lock gave way and they rushed inside. The command center was large, with workstations arranged in a circle around a central tactical display. Everything was covered in dust. The screens were dark and dead. Bora ran to the main power control. First things first. We need power. She opened an access panel and began connecting wires, bypassing burned-out circuits. Hana watched for a moment, then moved to another workstation. She had worked with station systems before. Maybe she could help. The backup reactor, Hana said. We need to restart it. Already on it. But it's going to take time to warm up. How much time? 10 minutes minimum. Outside, an explosion shook the station. Hana grabbed onto a console to keep from falling. They didn't have 10 minutes. The Syndicate would tear through the Ark Runner's shields long before then. There, Bora pointed at one of the screens that had flickered to life. I've got partial power. Let's see what we can work with. She pulled up a schematic of the station's weapon systems. Most of the platforms showed as offline or damaged, but 3 of them still had power connections intact. Platforms 7, 12, and 19, Bora said. If we can get those operational, we'll have something to shoot back with. How do we activate them? We need to restore the targeting computer, clear the safety locks, and manually authorize each platform. It's going to take both of us. They worked frantically, their hands flying over the controls. Hana's knowledge of station operations came back to her. Muscle memory from years of working in hydroponic systems that used similar interfaces. She cleared safety protocols while Bora restored power connections. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered and went out completely for 3 seconds before the backup systems kicked in again. Bora to Arc Runner, Bora said into her communicator. Status report. Marcus's voice came back, crackling with static. Shield's at 15%. We can't take much more. How's it going up there? Almost there. Give us 2 more minutes. We don't have 2 minutes. Then make some. Bora shut off the communicator and focused on her work. Hana brought up the targeting computer. It was old, but it still functioned. She began running diagnostics on the 3 platforms, checking their weapon systems, their power levels, their ammunition stores. Platform 7 was in the best shape. Its plasma cannons were fully charged and ready. Platform 12 had missiles, but the launch systems were damaged. Platform 19 showed multiple errors, but Hana thought she could get at least some of its weapons online. I've got Platform 7, Hana shouted. Weapons are ready. Good. Target the closest syndicate ship and fire when ready. Hana's hands shook as she entered the targeting commands. She had never fired weapons before. Never killed anyone, but these pirates had destroyed her colony. Murdered innocent people, left her and Dury to die. They were trying to kill the humans who had saved her life. She locked onto the nearest syndicate ship and pressed the fire command. Through the viewport, she saw brilliant streams of plasma lance out from Platform 7. The shots crossed the distance in seconds and slammed into the syndicate ship's shields. The enemy shields flared bright orange, then failed. The plasma burned into the ship's hull, tearing through armor. The ship began to spin, venting atmosphere and debris. Its weapons fell silent. Direct hit, Bora cheered. 1 down, 8 to go. Hana felt sick but also grimly satisfied. That was for her people. For everyone who had died in the colony. She switched to Platform 12, trying to get the missile systems working. The launch mechanism was jammed, but if she could bypass it manually, the station shook violently. One of the syndicate ships had targeted the weapon platforms, trying to destroy them before they could do more damage. Platform 19 is online, Bora announced. Firing now. More plasma fire streaked across space. Another syndicate ship took hits, its shields buckling under the assault. But there were still too many of them, and they were spreading out, trying to get around the station's limited firing arcs. Hana, Marcus's voice came through the communicator. We're evacuating the crew to the station. Arc Runner's shields are gone. We're sitting ducks out here. Understood. Get everyone to safety. She watched on the tactical display as the tiny dots representing the crew moved through the docking tunnel. Each dot was a person. Bora, Crash, James, Yuna, Dury. Her daughter was in that tunnel, vulnerable and exposed. A syndicate ship moved to target the tunnel. No, Hana screamed. She swung Platform 7 around, firing wildly. The plasma shots went wide, but they were close enough to make the enemy ship veer away. The tunnel was safe for now. All crew aboard the station, Marcus reported, sealing the tunnel. Captain, we need you up here, Bora said. We're trying to hold off 9 warships with 3 gun platforms. We need help. On my way. The next few minutes were a blur of firing, dodging return fire, and watching the tactical display with growing desperation. The syndicate ships were relentless. They attacked from multiple angles, forcing Hana and Bora to constantly shift between platforms. Marcus arrived with James and another crew member, Taeyang, who was the ship's security chief. They took over 2 of the workstations coordinating the defense. We can't keep this up, James said grimly. We're almost out of ammunition on Platform 7. How long until the main reactor is fully online? Marcus asked. 5 minutes, Bora said. But even then we only have 3 platforms. We need more firepower. Taeyang looked up from his station. Captain, I've got an idea. It's risky. Everything's risky right now. Talk to me. The station's docking bay has maintenance drones. Big ones designed for external repairs. If we could arm them with improvised explosives and program them to kamikaze into the enemy ships, That's insane, James said. You got a better idea? Marcus thought for 3 seconds. Do it. Take whoever you need and get those drones ready. Taeyang ran from the command center. Hana continued firing Platform 7, each shot now precious as ammunition dwindled. She managed to disable another syndicate ship's engines, but the others kept coming. Then Kavik's face appeared on the communication screen, forcing his signal through. Clever, human, Kavik said. His ship hung back from the fight, letting the others take the risks. You've cost me 3 ships now, but you're just delaying the inevitable. Surrender the Velthian and I'll let the rest of you leave. You'll forgive me if I don't trust a pirate's word, Marcus replied. Then you'll all die. I have reinforcements coming. 3 more ships will be here in 20 minutes. You cannot win. The communication cut off. Is he bluffing? Bora asked. Marcus checked the long-range sensors. His face went pale. No, 3 more ships incoming fast. The command center went silent. They were already struggling against 9 ships. 12 would be impossible. Then we need to end this before they arrive, Hana said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Kavik is a coward. He stays back, lets his people do the fighting. If we could take him out, the others might lose their will to fight. His ship has the heaviest shields, James pointed out. We'd need a massive hit to get through them. What about the reactor? Hana said. You said it's almost online. What if we overload it? Create an explosion? That would destroy the station, Marcus said. We're dead anyway if we don't do something. Bora was already running calculations. If we vented plasma directly from the reactor core through Platform 7's firing systems, we could create a sustained beam. Like a cutting torch on a massive scale. It would burn out the platform and probably damage the reactor beyond repair, but it might punch through Kavik's shields, Marcus finished. We'd have 1 shot, James said. Miss, and we've destroyed our best weapon for nothing. Marcus looked at Hana. Can you make that shot? Hana thought about the ice planet, about holding Duri as they froze, about accepting death because there was no hope. Then she thought about waking up in Marcus's arms, about the humans who had given them a second chance, about Duri laughing and playing in the common area. Yes, she said, I can make the shot. Then let's do it. Bora, set it up. James, calculate firing solutions. I want this perfect. They worked with desperate speed. Taeyang reported that he had 6 armed drones ready to launch. That would help, but it wouldn't be enough without taking out Kavik. The syndicate reinforcements were 15 minutes away. Ready, Bora announced. Reactor core venting to Platform Sev Part 6. The beacon in the dark. The journey to New Haven Station took 8 days. The Ark Runner was badly damaged from the battle, and they had to travel slowly to avoid stressing the hull. But they were alive, and that was what mattered. Hana spent those days helping with repairs and taking care of Duri. The child had nightmares about the battle, waking up crying in the middle of the night. Each time, Hana would hold her and sing the old lullabies until she fell back asleep. Will there be more bad people? Duri asked one morning while they ate breakfast in the common area. Maybe, Hana said honestly. But we'll be safe at New Haven. Captain Marcus says it's protected by many ships. Will we stay with the humans forever? Hana didn't know how to answer that. She loved the crew of the Ark Runner, but they couldn't stay aboard forever. They needed a real home, a place where Duri could grow up properly. We'll see, little spark. We'll see. When New Haven finally appeared on their view screens, Hana was shocked by what she saw. She had expected a small outpost, maybe a few docking bays and some living quarters. Instead, she saw a massive structure easily 10 times the size of her old colony. The station was shaped like a flower with 6 large petals extending from a central hub. Each petal was a different section, and dozens of ships of all sizes were docked at various ports. Hana recognized some of the species markers on the ships: Velthian, Quarian, Vryn, Etheri, and others she didn't know. It's beautiful, she whispered. Wait until you see the inside, Yuna said with a smile. They docked at one of the smaller ports, and station personnel came aboard to help with repairs. Hana was surprised to see that the workers were a mix of species. Humans worked alongside Quarians and Vryn, all wearing the same uniform with New Haven's symbol, a circle of clasped hands. A human woman in a formal uniform greeted them at the airlock. She was older than most of the Ark Runner's crew, with gray hair and kind eyes. Captain Reeves, the woman said, shaking Marcus's hand. Good to see you made it. We heard about your fight with the Syndicate. That was some impressive flying. Thank you, Counselor Mirai. This is Hana and her daughter Duri. They're the ones the syndicate was after. Counselor Mirai knelt down to Duri's level. Hello, little one. Welcome to New Haven. Are you hungry? We have the best food court in this sector. Duri hid behind Hana's legs, peeking out shyly. Mirai laughed gently and stood up. I know everything must seem scary right now, Mirai said to Hana. But you're safe here. Let me show you around. I think you'll be surprised. They followed Mirai through the station's corridors. Unlike the military efficiency of the defense station, New Haven felt alive. Children of various species played in open areas. Markets sold goods from dozens of worlds. Gardens grew under artificial sunlight, filled with plants from different planets. How many people live here? Hana asked. About 15,000 permanent residents, Mirai said. And another 5,000 who come and go. All refugees, all rescued by human ships like the Ark Runner. All of them? Every single one. New Haven was founded 20 years ago by a group of humans who were tired of seeing species abandon their own people. They built this station with donations and volunteer labor. Now it's the largest refugee sanctuary in this sector. They entered a large open space that Mirai called the Central Garden. It was enormous, with plants growing everywhere, water features, and sitting areas. Beings of all species gathered there, talking, eating, relaxing. Children played in safe zones while adults watched. Hana saw a group of Velthians sitting together near a pond. Her heart jumped. Her own people. She hadn't seen another Velthian since the colony was destroyed. You'll find many of your species here, Mirai said. They can help you adjust, teach Duri your language and customs. We believe it's important for refugees to maintain their cultural identity. They continued the tour. Mirai showed them the residential areas, with apartments designed for different species' needs. The medical center, larger than some hospitals Hana had seen on established worlds. The education center, where children learned together regardless of their species. How do you pay for all this? Hana asked. Donations mostly. Some wealthy humans who believe in the cause. Some refugees who made good lives after leaving here and send money back. We also have manufacturing facilities where we build equipment for sale. Everyone contributes what they can. They stopped at a large window overlooking the docking bays. Hana could see 3 human ships being prepared for departure. Rescue ships just like the Ark Runner. 32 active rescue ships right now, Mirai said. They go out into the dark places, the dead zones, the disaster areas, places where nobody else will go. Last year, they saved over 8,000 lives. Why? Hana asked. It was the question that had haunted her since Marcus first rescued her. Why do humans do this? What do you gain? Mirai was quiet for a moment. Have you ever heard Earth's history? Our planet's history? A little. You had wars. Many wars. We nearly destroyed ourselves, multiple times. Wars, disease, environmental collapse. There were periods where survival seemed impossible. But each time people helped each other. Strangers sheltered strangers. Communities shared resources. People sacrificed for others they didn't even know. Mirai turned to look at Hana directly. We learned something from those dark times. We learned that helping each other isn't just good morals. It's survival. When we reached the stars and saw how the galaxy worked, saw how species abandoned their own people, we couldn't accept it. So we decided to be different. But most species don't think like that. No. Most species see others as competition, resources to be hoarded, territories to be defended. But humans, we see potential allies, future friends. We figure the universe is big enough and dangerous enough that we need all the friends we can get. Duri tugged on Hana's arm. Mama, can we live here? Please? Mirai smiled. Of course you can. We have apartments ready for new arrivals. You'll have your own space, your own life. And when you're ready, if you want to contribute to the community, we'll help you find work that suits your skills. Over the next few days, Hana and Duri settled into their new apartment. It was small but comfortable, with a living area, 2 bedrooms, and a small kitchen. The walls could display images, and Hana set them to show scenes from Velthia, tropical oceans and warm beaches. It made her heart ache, but it also felt like hope. The Velthian community welcomed them. An older woman named Yunji took Hana under her wing, introducing her to others and explaining how life worked at New Haven. Duri made friends with other Velthian children, playing games and learning songs that Hana had almost forgotten. But Hana couldn't shake a feeling of restlessness. Everyone here was kind and welcoming, but they were all just surviving, existing, waiting for something better that might never come. She thought about the crew of the Ark Runner. They weren't just surviving. They were fighting back against the darkness, making a difference. One evening, Hana attended a community gathering in the central garden. Refugees from dozens of species shared food and stories. She listened to their tales. A Quarian who had been pulled from a dying star by human rescuers, a Vryn family saved from a plague ship, an Etheri who had been stranded in a collapsing nebula. Every story was the same, left behind by their own people, rescued by humans who had no reason to care except that they chose to. Then Yunji stood up to speak. She was an old Veltian, her scales pale with age, her bioluminescent markings dim but still beautiful. "I came here 40 years ago," Yunji said. "Before this station existed, before New Haven was even a dream. I was dying on a destroyed transport ship and a human salvager found me. He gave me his own breathing mask, even though it meant risking his life. He brought me to a human colony and they took care of me." She paused, her voice thick with emotion. I asked him why. Why save me? And he said something I never forgot. He said, "Because someday someone might need to save my daughter. I want to live in a universe where people help each other." That human died 5 years ago, but his daughter now commands her own rescue ship. She saved over 300 lives. The crowd was silent. "We all owe our lives to humans," Yunji continued. "They showed us that the universe doesn't have to be cruel, that we can choose to be better. Some of us can't fight anymore. We're too old, too wounded, too tired. But those of you who are young and strong, I ask you, what will you do with the life humans gave you?" Hana felt the words hit her like a physical blow. What would she do? Would she just raise Duri in safety and comfort, teaching her daughter to be grateful but passive? Or would she teach Duri to fight, to help others, to be like the humans who had saved them? That night she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Marcus and his crew, about the defense station battle, about the moment she had fired the shot that saved everyone. The next morning, she went to find Counselor Mirai. "I want to help," Hana said. "Not just here at the station. I want to go out on the rescue ships. I want to save others like the humans saved me." Mirai studied her carefully. "It's dangerous work. You have a daughter to think about." "I know. But what kind?" Part 7. The warning came 3 days before the Syndicate fleet was expected to arrive. Long-range sensors picked up 20 warships heading toward New Haven. 20 ships against one station with minimal defenses. The math was simple and terrifying. Emergency meetings filled the station's command center. Hana attended one, watching as Counselor Mirai and the station's leaders tried to find solutions that didn't exist. "We should evacuate," one council member said. A human named David who managed the residential sectors. "Get everyone on ships and scatter. They can't chase us all." "There aren't enough ships," another counselor argued. This one was a Quarian, its crystalline body refracting the light. "We have maybe 50 vessels total. That's not enough for 15,000 people." "Then we fight," a Vryn representative said, its insect-like mandibles clicking. "We have weapons. We have fighters. Mining lasers and construction tools," Mirai said wearily. "Against military warships, it would be a massacre." "We've sent distress calls to every human fleet in range," David added. "The nearest one is Admiral Jin's task force, but they're 4 days away. They can't reach us in time." The room fell silent. 4 days. The Syndicate would be here in 3. Hana stood up. Everyone turned to look at her. "Then we need to buy time," she said. "Hold them off for 1 day and Admiral Jin can save us." "How?" Mirai asked. "We can't fight 20 warships for a day. Maybe not alone. But what if we weren't alone?" Hana walked to the display table in the center of the room. She pulled up data on her tablet and transferred it to the main screen. "Numbers. Lots of numbers. I've been studying the station's population. We have refugees from 43 different species. Each species has unique abilities, unique knowledge. The Vryn are master engineers. The Quarians can manipulate light and energy. The Etheri can move through vacuum without suits. And there are dozens more species, each with something valuable to offer." "What are you suggesting?" the Quarian counselor asked. "That we stop thinking like separate species and start thinking like a community. The humans saved all of us. Not because they wanted something in return, but because it was right. Now the humans need us. Are we going to abandon them the way our own people abandoned us?" The room erupted in argument. Some agreed with Hana. Others said it was suicide. But slowly, more voices joined Hana's side. Finally, Yunji stood up. The old Velthian's voice silenced everyone. I am 80 years old, Yunji said. I have lived longer than most of my species because humans saved me. Every day since then has been a gift. If the Syndicate destroys this station, they destroy the idea that compassion matters, that helping strangers is worth the cost. I will not let that idea die without a fight. She looked around the room. Who stands with me? Slowly, people began to stand. First a few, then more, until nearly everyone in the room was on their feet. Mireille had tears in her eyes. Then we fight. All of us together. The next 3 days were chaos. The entire station mobilized for war. The Vrin engineers, led by a female named Hyon, began fortifying the station's hull. They used mining equipment to create armor plating, reinforced vulnerable sections, and installed improvised shield generators. The Quarians worked with human technicians to create a network of sensors around the station. Their ability to see and manipulate electromagnetic energy turned them into living radar systems. The Etheri volunteered to go outside the station as scouts. They could move through space naturally, and their gaseous forms were nearly invisible to normal sensors. Hana worked with Marcus and the other rescue ship captains, organizing the station's small fleet into a defensive formation. They couldn't match the Syndicate's firepower, but they could be fast and unpredictable. Other species contributed in their own ways. A species of small furry beings called Nuru had an amazing sense of timing and rhythm. They took over communications, coordinating the defense with perfect precision. A species of silicon-based beings called Kreth were immune to vacuum and radiation. They volunteered to manually repair damage during the battle. Duri stayed with the other children in the deepest, safest part of the station. Hana visited her every evening, holding her daughter close. Are you scared, Mama? Duri asked the night before the battle. Yes, Hana said honestly. But I'm also proud. We're not running away. We're standing up for our home. The humans would be proud of us too, right? I think they already are, little Spark. The Syndicate fleet arrived right on schedule. 20 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took positions around New Haven. For several minutes, nothing happened. They were waiting, letting fear build. Then a communication came through. It wasn't Kavik this time. It was someone even worse. Kavik's sister, Vex, who was known throughout the sector as even more ruthless than her brother. Vex's face filled the screen. She was larger than Kavik had been, with scars crossing her red scales and eyes that held no mercy. New Haven Station, Vex said, her voice cold and sharp. You killed my brother. You destroyed my ships. Now you will pay. I am giving you one chance to surrender. Send out every human on that station, and I will let the others live as slaves. Refuse and I will kill everyone. You have 1 hour to decide. The screen went dark. Mireille looked at Marcus and the other humans in the command center. She's giving you a chance to save the refugees. You could take the shuttles and run while there's still time. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. Run from people who need us? That's not how humans work. We don't abandon our people, another human captain said. This was Somin, who commanded a rescue ship called the Dawn's Light. And everyone on this station is our people now. Then we stand together, Mireille said. All of us, she opened a station-wide channel. Attention all New Haven residents. The Syndicate has given us an ultimatum. They want us to surrender the humans who saved our lives. I'm not even going to ask for a vote on this. We all know the answer. We fight. We fight for our home. We fight for each other. We fight to prove that the Syndicate and everyone like them are wrong about how the universe should work. Humans taught us that compassion is strength. Now let's show them what we learned. The response was immediate. Every species, every refugee sent back the same message. They would fight. Hana took her position on the bridge of the Ark Runner. Marcus had asked her to be his tactical officer for the battle. She pulled up the defensive network on her screen, watching as all the pieces moved into position. 30 minutes until the hour is up, James reported. All ships report ready, Crash added. Marcus stood at the captain's position, looking calm despite the impossible odds. Remember, we're not trying to win. We're trying to survive. Every minute we hold them off is another minute closer to Admiral Jin's arrival. The hour passed. Vex didn't bother with another communication. She simply gave the order to attack. 20 warships opened fire at once. The barrage was overwhelming. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward New Haven from every direction, but the defense was ready. The Quarian sensor network gave them perfect tracking. The Nuru communication specialist coordinated the response with flawless timing. The improvised shields that the Vryn engineers had built absorbed the first wave of fire. The station's small fleet launched, darting between the attacking ships like insects too small and fast to hit easily. They fired mining lasers and construction tools that had been hastily converted to weapons. The damage they did was minimal, but they forced the Syndicate ships to divide their attention. The Aetheri scouts moved through space like ghosts, attaching explosive charges to the enemy ship's hull and engines. 3 Syndicate ships lost power as their reactors were sabotaged. On the station, the Kreth Silicon beings worked frantically to repair damage as it happened. They crawled across the hull, sealing breaches, replacing destroyed systems, keeping the station functional. It was working. They were holding, but the cost was terrible. 2 of the rescue ships were destroyed in the first 20 minutes. A Syndicate missile got through the shields and tore a hole in one of New Haven's residential sections. Emergency bulkheads sealed it, but 40 people died. Hana watched the tactical display, her hands steady on the controls despite the horror. She called out targeting priorities, coordinated defensive fire, and tried to keep the small fleet alive. "We've lost the Dawn's light," Crash reported, his voice breaking. "Captain Soman was dead. Station shields down to 40%, James added. "How long until Admiral Jin arrives?" Marcus asked. 3 hours. "Maybe less if they push their engines." 3 hours. They had to hold for 3 more hours. The battle raged on. The Syndicate ships closed in, tightening their formation. Vex was getting impatient. She wanted this finished. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Syndicate ships stopped firing. Then another. Then a third. "What's happening?" Marcus demanded. Hana pulled up the communication frequencies. What she heard made her heart soar. "This is the merchant vessel Prosperity," a voice said. "We're transmitting to all Syndicate ships. We've been monitoring this battle. You're attacking a refugee station, a place where people who lost everything are trying to rebuild their lives. We can't let that stand." "Who is that?" Marcus asked. Part 7. The Stand. The warning came 3 days before the Syndicate fleet was expected to arrive. Long-range sensors picked up 20 warships heading toward New Haven. 20 ships against 1 station with minimal defenses. The math was simple and terrifying. Emergency meetings filled the station's command center. Hana attended one, watching as Counselor Mirai and the station's leaders tried to find solutions that didn't exist. "We should evacuate," one council member said. A human named David, who managed the residential sectors. "Get everyone on ships and scatter. They can't chase us all." "There aren't enough ships," another counselor argued. This one was a Quarian, its crystalline body refracting the light. "We have maybe 50 vessels total. That's not enough for 15,000 people." "Then we fight," a Vryn representative said, its insect-like mandibles clicking. "We have weapons. We have fighters. Mining lasers and construction tools," Mirai said wearily, "against military warships. It would be a massacre." "We've sent distress calls to every human fleet in range," David added. "The nearest one is Admiral Jin's task force, but they're 4 days away. They can't reach us in time." The room fell silent. 4 days. The Syndicate would be here in 3. Hana stood up. Everyone turned to look at her. "Then we need to buy time," she said. "Hold them off for 1 day and Admiral Jin can save us." "How?" Mirai asked. "We can't fight 20 warships for a day. Maybe not alone. But what if we weren't alone?" Hana walked to the display table in the center of the room. She pulled up data on her tablet and transferred it to the main screen. Numbers. Lots of numbers. "I've been studying the station's population. We have refugees from 43 different species. Each species has unique abilities, unique knowledge. The Vryn are master engineers. The Quarians can manipulate light and energy. The Aetheri can move through vacuum without suits. And there are dozens more species, each with something valuable to offer." "What are you suggesting?" the Quarian counselor asked. "That we stop thinking like separate species and start thinking like a community. The humans saved all of us, not because they wanted something in return, but because it was right. Now the humans need us. Are we going to abandon them the way our own people abandoned us?" The room erupted in argument. Some agreed with Hana. Others said it was suicide. But slowly more voices joined Hana's side. Finally, Yunji stood up. The old Velthian's voice silenced everyone. "I am 80 years old," Yunji said. "I have lived longer than most of my species because humans saved me. Every day since then has been a gift. If the Syndicate destroys this station, they destroy the idea that compassion matters. that helping strangers is worth the cost. I will not let that idea die without a fight. She looked around the room. Who stands with me? Slowly, people began to stand. First a few, then more, until nearly everyone in the room was on their feet. Mirai had tears in her eyes. Then we fight, all of us together. The next 3 days were chaos. The entire station mobilized for war. The Vrin engineers, led by a female named Hyan, began fortifying the station's hull. They used mining equipment to create armor plating, reinforced vulnerable sections, and installed improvised shield generators. The Quarians worked with human technicians to create a network of sensors around the station. Their ability to see and manipulate electromagnetic energy turned them into living radar systems. The Aetheri volunteered to go outside the station as scouts. They could move through space naturally, and their gaseous forms were nearly invisible to normal sensors. Hana worked with Marcus and the other rescue ship captains, organizing the station's small fleet into a defensive formation. They couldn't match the Syndicate's firepower, but they could be fast and unpredictable. Other species contributed in their own ways. A species of small furry beings called Nuru had an amazing sense of timing and rhythm. They took over communications, coordinating the defense with perfect precision. A species of silicon-based beings called Kreth were immune to vacuum and radiation. They volunteered to manually repair damage during the battle. Duri stayed with the other children in the deepest, safest part of the station. Hana visited her every evening, holding her daughter close. Are you scared, Mama? Duri asked the night before the battle. Yes, Hana said honestly, but I'm also proud. We're not running away. We're standing up for our home. The humans would be proud of us too, right? I think they already are, little Spark. The Syndicate fleet arrived right on schedule. 20 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took positions around New Haven. For several minutes, nothing happened. They were waiting, letting fear build. Then a communication came through. It wasn't Kavik this time. It was someone even worse. Kavik's sister, Vex, who was known throughout the sector as even more ruthless than her brother. Vex's face filled the screen. She was larger than Kavik had been, with scars crossing her red scales and eyes that held no mercy. New Haven Station, Vex said, her voice cold and sharp. You killed my brother. You destroyed my ships. Now you will pay. I am giving you one chance to surrender. Send out every human on that station, and I will let the others live as slaves. Refuse, and I will kill everyone. You have 1 hour to decide. The screen went dark. Mirai looked at Marcus and the other humans in the command center. She's giving you a chance to save the refugees. You could take the shuttles and run while there's still time. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. Run from people who need us. That's not how humans work. We don't abandon our people, another human captain said. This was Soman, who commanded a rescue ship called the Dawn's Light. And everyone on this station is our people now. Then we stand together, Mirai said. All of us. She opened a station-wide channel. Attention all New Haven residents. The Syndicate has given us an ultimatum. They want us to surrender the humans who saved our lives. I'm not even going to ask for a vote on this. We all know the answer. We fight. We fight for our home. We fight for each other. We fight to prove that the Syndicate and everyone like them are wrong about how the universe should work. Humans taught us that compassion is strength. Now let's show them what we learned. The response was immediate. Every species, every refugee sent back the same message. They would fight. Hana took her position on the bridge of the Ark Runner. Marcus had asked her to be his tactical officer for the battle. She pulled up the defensive network on her screen, watching as all the pieces moved into position. 30 minutes until the hour is up, James reported. All ships report ready. Crash added. Marcus stood at the captain's position, looking calm despite the impossible odds. Remember, we're not trying to win. We're trying to survive. Every minute we hold them off is another minute closer to Admiral Jin's arrival. The hour passed. Vex didn't bother with another communication. She simply gave the order to attack. 20 warships opened fire at once. The barrage was overwhelming. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward New Haven from every direction, but the defense was ready. The Quarian sensor network gave them perfect tracking. The Nuru communication specialists coordinated the response with flawless timing. The improvised shields that the Vrin engineers had built absorbed the first wave of fire. The station's small fleet launched, darting between the attacking ships like insects too small and fast to hit easily. They fired mining lasers and construction tools that had been hastily converted to weapons. The damage they did was minimal, but they forced the Syndicate ships to divide their attention. The Aetheri scouts moved through space like ghosts, attaching explosive charges to the enemy ship's hull and engines. 3 Syndicate ships lost power as their reactors were sabotaged. On the station, the Kreth Silicon beings worked frantically to repair damage as it happened. They crawled across the hull, sealing breaches, replacing destroyed systems, keeping the station functional. It was working. They were holding, but the cost was terrible. 2 of the rescue ships were destroyed in the first 20 minutes. A Syndicate missile got through the shields and tore a hole in one of New Haven's residential sections. Emergency bulkheads sealed it, but 40 people died. Hana watched the tactical display, her hands steady on the controls despite the horror. She called out targeting priorities, coordinated defensive fire, and tried to keep the small fleet alive. "We've lost the Dawn's light," Crash reported, his voice breaking. Captain Soman was dead. "Station shields down to 40%, James added. "How long until Admiral Jin arrives?" Marcus asked. 3 hours, maybe less if they push their engines. 3 hours. They had to hold for 3 more hours. The battle raged on. The Syndicate ships closed in, tightening their formation. Vex was getting impatient. She wanted this finished. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Syndicate ships stopped firing. Then another, then a third. "What's happening?" Marcus demanded. Hana pulled up the communication frequencies. What she heard made her heart soar. "This is the merchant vessel Prosperity," a voice said. "We're transmitting to all Syndicate ships. We've been monitoring this battle. You're attacking a refugee station, a place where people who lost everything are trying to rebuild their lives. We can't let that stand." "Who is that?" Marcus asked.